أنذرتكم نارا تلظى لا يصلاها إلا الأشقى الذي كذب وتولى فسيجنبها الأتقى الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى إلا ابتغاء وجه ربي الأعلى ولسوف يرضى اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
Muhammad. Thank you so much, Hasnan, for that recitation. I would like to now request Zohair Nuruddin to come and recite the Hadith Kissa. Salawat. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوات اللهم صل على محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي زدني علما. Fatima al-Zahra, the daughter of the Prophet, peace be on them, is to have thus related an event. My father, the Prophet of Allah, came to my house one day and said to me, "Peace be on you, Fatima." I replied, "And upon you, peace." Then he said, "I feel weakness in my body." I said, "Allah protects you from weakness, father." He said, "Fatima, please bring the Yamni cloak and cover me with it." So I brought the Yamni cloak and covered him with it. Then I looked at him and saw that his face was shining like a full moon with its glory and splendor. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. After a while, my son Hassan came in and said, "Peace be on you, mother." I replied, "And upon you, peace, O light of my eyes and the delight of my heart." He then said, "Mother, I smell a fragrance so sweet and so pure as that of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "Yes, your grandfather is lying underneath the cloak." Hassan went near the cloak and said, "Peace be on you, my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you, peace, my son, and the master of my fountain. You are given the permission to enter." So Hassan entered the cloak with him. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. After a while, my son Hussein came in and said, "Peace be on you, mother." I replied, "And upon you, peace, O light of my eyes and the delight of my heart." He then said, "Mother, I smell a sweet fragrance like that of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "Yes, your grandfather and your brother are lying underneath the cloak." Hussein stepped towards the cloak and said, "Peace be on you, my grandfather, the chosen of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you, peace, my son, and the interceder of my followers. You are given the permission to enter." So Hussein entered the cloak with them. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. After a while, Abu Hassan Ali bin Abi Talib, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, came in and said, "Peace be on you, O daughter of the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "And upon you, peace, O father of Hassan and the commander of the faithful." He then said, "Fatima, I smell a sweet fragrance like that of my brother, my cousin, the Prophet of Allah." I replied, "Yes, he is underneath the cloak with your two sons." So Ali went near the cloak and said, "Peace be on you, Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you, peace, my brother, my legatee, my successor, and my standard bearer. You are given the permission to enter." So Ali entered the cloak with them. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Then I stepped forward and said, "Peace be on you, my father, O Prophet of Allah. May I enter the cloak with you?" He replied, "And upon you, peace, my daughter, O part of myself. You are given the permission to enter." So I entered the cloak with them. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Getting together underneath the cloak, my father, the Prophet of Allah, held at two ends of the cloak and raised his right hand towards the heavens and prayed, O Allah, these are the people of my household, Ahlul Bayt. They are my confidants and my supporters. Their flesh is my flesh, and their blood is my blood. Whoever hurts them hurts me too. Whoever displeases them displeases me too. I am at war with those at war with them. I am at peace with those at peace with them. I am the enemy of their enemies, and I am the friend of their friends. They are from me, and I am from them. O Allah, bestow your blessings, benevolence, forgiveness, and your pleasure upon me and upon them, and remove impurity from them and keep them thoroughly pure. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Then the Lord Almighty Allah said, O my angels, O residents of my heavens, verily I have not created the erected sky, the stretched earth, the illuminated moon, the bright sun, the rotating planets, the flowing seas, and the sailing ships, but for the love of these five lying underneath the cloak. Jibreel, the trusted angel, asked, Who are under the cloak? The Almighty answered, They are the household of the Prophet and the assets of prophethood. They are Fatima, her father, her husband, and her two sons. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa Jafarja. Jibreel said, O Lord, may I fly to earth to be the sixth of them? Allah replied, Yes, you are given the permission. Jibreel, the trusted, landed near them and said, Peace be on you, O Prophet of Allah. The All-Highest conveys his peace on you and his greetings and says, By my honor and glory, O my angels, O residents of my heavens, verily I have not created the erected sky, the stretched earth, the illuminated moon, the bright sun, the rotating planets, the flowing seas, and the sailing ships, but for your sake and love. God has given me permission to enter the cloak with you. May I join you, O Prophet of Allah? The Prophet replied, And peace be on you, O trusted bearer of Allah's revelations. You are granted the permission. So Jibreel entered the cloak with us. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And said to my father, Allah sends his revelations to you. Verily Allah's desire is to remove blemish from you, O people of household Ahlul Bayt, and purify you with a perfect purification. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa Jawfaj. Then Ali said to my father, O Prophet of Allah, tell me, what significance has Allah given for getting together underneath this cloak? The Prophet replied, By him who rightfully appointed me a prophet and chose me a messenger for the salvation of the mankind, whenever and wherever an assembly of our followers and friends mention this event, Allah will bestow on them his blessings and mercy. Angels will encircle them, asking Allah the remission of their sins until the assembly disperse. So Ali said, Verily, by the Lord of Kaaba, we and our followers are the winners. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa Jawfaj. Then my father replied, By him who rightfully appointed me a prophet and chose me a messenger for the salvation of the mankind, whenever and wherever an assembly of our followers and friends mention this event, there shall remain none grieved, but Allah will remove his grief. There shall remain none distressed, but Allah will dispel his distress. There shall remain none wish-seeker, but Allah will grant his wish. Ali happily said, Verily, by the Lord of Kaaba, we and our followers are the winners and the blessed in this world and the next. Salawat.
Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now I'd like to request Hasnan Raza to come and recite Salam.
Hasnan.
Salawat.
Rahim. They can cut my arms and my legs. They can take everything that I have. I will come crawling to you, Hussein. Every day it cuts me inside. I'm so very far from you inside. I would give away these eyes just to catch a glimpse of your shrine. If I have to cross the seas and every desert in between, I will come crawling to you, Hussein. I can tell you that I'm insane in the love of my master Hussein. In this universe there's no pain that can never keep me away. Every inch that I come your way, every beat of my heart will say, I will come crawling to you, Hussein. If I lose my family and friends, if my life's coming to an end, if I lose my feet and hands, if I can no longer stand, if I stumble 1,000 times, if the journey is 1,000 miles, I will come crawling to you, Hussein. You just have to look at this world. See your lovers are tortured and hurt. They can use their tanks and their guns. We will stand together as one. They can tear us limb from limb, but our soul will say from within, I will come crawling to you, Hussein. They can put a gun to my head and can threaten me to shoot me dead. They can wound me till I'm red. They can try to kill me, and yet, with my every remaining breath, with every ounce of strength I possess, I will come crawling to you, Hussein. Labayka ya Hussein. Labayka ya Hussein.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Good job, good job. Now I'd like to request Shabir Jafri to come and recite a salam. Salawat.
By Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Fatima, you have given all of your family for Allah. There is your son standing alone, calling for help, Ya Allah. Fatima, you have given all of your family for Allah. There is your son standing alone, calling for help, Ya Allah. Where is the flag bearer of Islam to support him, Ya Allah? Where is Akbar to comfort him, the reminder of Rasulullah? Where is Azhar with such parched lips? He was so thirsty, Ya Allah. Fatima, you have given all of your family for Allah. Hazrat Akbar, like the Prophet in his looks and soul, he tasted death, but to Allah was his ultimate goal. Standing for truth, his sacrifice sweeter than honey, Ya Allah. Fatima, you have given all of your family to Allah. Sham-e-Ghariba, the tents alight, no rest for the Qafilah. A young girl whose ears are bleeding searches, oh Father. Asleep at last on a headless chest, Zainab discovers Ruqayya. Fatima, you have given all of your family for Allah. There is your son standing alone, calling for help, Ya Allah. Salawat.
Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I would like to request everybody to please stand up and move to the left as the Majlis is going to start. A couple of quick announcements. We would like to request the sisters to not leave immediately after the Majlis ends. It is causing a traffic jam right out the door. So please, if you can, kindly wait until the matam is over on the English side before you head over there. And with that, I would like to request Sheikh Azhar, Azhari to please come and Nasser Azhari, my apologies. Salawat.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. A second salawat for the love of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. For the hastening of the reappearance of the Imam of our time, a third salawat in the loudest of your voices. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. صلى الله عليه وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء، ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا فيا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. قال تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Over the past couple of nights, we've been discussing the contributions and the legacies of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. One of the most important legacies of Imam Zainul Abidin is represented in the outstanding sons that he raised. We have a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ where he speaks about the legacies that we leave behind that continue to benefit us even after death. In a famous hadith attributed to the Prophet ﷺ, he says, إِذَا مَاتَ ابْنُ آدَمَ اللهم صل على محمد إذا مات ابن آدم انقطع عمله إلا من ثلاث. The Prophet, he says, when a person dies, their actions cease. When you pass away, the book of your deeds is closed. إلا عن ثلاث. Your actions cease to benefit you. They cease except for three. There are three things that continue to benefit the person even after death. إذا مات ابن آدم انقطع عمله إلا من ثلاث. Number one is صدقة جارية. The first is what we can call a charitable endowment. You contribute to the construction of a masjid, a hospital, a Husayniyah. If you contribute to the establishment of a masjid, as long as that masjid is being used, you receive rewards even after your death. That's why it's very important for us to not only invest in our worldly retirement, it's important that we invest in our eternal retirement, which is the hereafter. So the Prophet, he says, when a person dies, their actions cease except for three. The first are charitable endowments. The second is أو علم ينتفع به. The second is you leave behind a legacy of knowledge. You leave behind books. You leave behind lectures. You leave behind a legacy of knowledge. You take, for example, some of our ulama, like a Sheikh al-Kulayni, rahmatullahi alayh, the author of Kitab al-Kafi. You read the books of Allam al-Majlisi, Sheikh al-Mufid, Kitab al-Irshad. Whenever you and I read these books and gain knowledge, the reward is continuously sent to the souls of those scholars. They continue to benefit. And then the third is أَوَلَدٌ صَالِحٌ يَدْعُو لَهُ. The third thing that benefits a person after death is to leave behind a righteous child that prays for you, that does good because of the way that you raise them. If you raise and you instill Islamic values in a child, whatever goodness that that child does in their lives, you receive that residual thawab. And this is something that the great messengers and the prophets, they understood. And this is why in the Quran you find that prophets and messengers, they are always asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless them with righteous children. If you look at Ibrahim alayhi salam, رَبِّ اجْعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي. Oh Allah, make me among those who establish the prayer and also among my progeny. Because he knows that if his progeny also prays, if they are virtuous people, he will benefit. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevated him to the rank, the lofty rank of imama, Ibrahim was not only thinking about himself. قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي. How about my children? Are any of my descendants going to ascend to this lofty spiritual station? Why is he asking? Because he knows that whatever goodness his children do, he will receive that reward. Now, among the legacies of Imam Zainul Abidin is he raised noble children that made valuable contributions to the Islamic world. Now, obviously, we know that the son of Imam Zainul Abidin is Imam al-Baqir. But tonight, I want to speak about his other son, a son that we might not know that much about, a son who, when his name is brought up, is usually a figure that is considered controversial in many circles. And that is Zayd ibn Ali, Zayd the son of Ali, the great martyr of Islam. Now, before we speak about who Zayd was, and we speak about the historical details surrounding his revolution and why it's relevant for us today, it is not my habit to just share stories of the past with you, even though I enjoy history, but there's a recognition that the mimbar of Imam al-Hussein has to be a pulpit of practicality. We're not here just to talk about the past. We are here to reflect on the relevance of the past to the present challenges. Now, when we look at Zayd ibn Ali, his story is quite unique. In fact, we have a narration that tells us about the story of his birth and the story behind the assigning of his name. Sheikh al-Saduq, the great hadith scholar of the 4th century, he has a book, he has many books, many valuable books of hadith. Among them is a book called the Amali of Sheikh al-Saduq. These great scholars, they had a habit of holding frequent, maybe even weekly gatherings where students of knowledge would gather around them and they would share a hadith on a wide range of topics. But the way that they would do it was very unique. They would share a hadith and they would give their chain of transmission connecting them to the Imams. It was always the tradition of our scholars that when they share a narration from the Ahlul Bayt, they identify the names of all of the individuals that passed down that hadith. There was this concerted effort to ensure that this knowledge is not coming from obscure sources. So the hadith goes as follows. In his book, The Amali, he mentions an incident where Abu Hamza al-Thumali, and of course this name should be familiar especially to Shias, in the month of Ramadan, we recite Dua Abi Hamza al-Thumali. Abu Hamza, in this narration, he comes to visit Imam Zainul Abidin during Hajj. We mentioned why Imam al-Sajjad used to frequently perform Hajj. We spoke about that last night. The narration goes as follows. Abu Hamza says that I went to visit Imam al-Sajjad during Hajj season. And when I went to see him, he told me, oh Abu Hamza, do you want me to share with you a dream that I had? Now, of course, the Ahlul Bayt, they're typically not the type who are always talking about dreams, because they don't want to raise their Shias with this mindset that important life decisions should be based on what you see in dreams. The dreams of Zainul Abidin are not like my dreams or your dreams. You know, people often come to me and they say, Sheikh, I have a dream, I need you to interpret the dream. Number one, they don't teach dream interpretation in the Hawza. And more importantly, you're not Yusuf as-Siddiq to treat your dreams that seriously. So oftentimes, the things that we see in our dreams is probably because of the biryani that we're eating, and not necessarily because it is some sort of divine message. So Imam al-Sajjad, he says to Abu Hamza, he says, رَأَيْتُ, I had a dream. رَأَيْتُ كَأَنِّي أُدْخِلْتُ الْجَنَّةِ. He says, I had a dream that I was admitted into paradise. And I was joined with one of the maidens of paradise. And I was wedded to one of the maidens of paradise. And in the dream, I heard a caller call out to me, saying, Ya Ali ibn al-Husayn, liyuhanni'aka Zayd. Have the glad tidings of a son named Zayd. Abu Hamza, he says, the Imam shared this dream with me. The following year, I also met him at Hajj. But this time I saw that he was carrying with him a young boy. So I asked about this boy, and the Imam said to me, Ya Aba Hamza, هذا تأويل رؤياي. Oh Abu Hamza, this child is the fulfillment of the dream that I told you last year. So from this hadith, we understand that when we speak about Zayd ibn Ali, we're not speaking about an ordinary individual. We are speaking about someone whose name was assigned by the heavens. It is said in some narrations that when Zayd was born, and when they gave the news to Imam al-Sajjad, Imam al-Sajjad did something called at-tafa'ul bil-Quran. This is a practice where when something happens and you want to know, you want to seek a divine omen, you open up the Quran seeking a divine omen. When Zayd was born, Imam al-Sajjad opened up the Quran seeking a divine omen, and the verse that came out was Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 95, where Allah says, وَفَضَّلَ اللَّهُ الْمُجَاهِدِينَ عَلَى الْقَاعِدِينَ. That God, He has favored those who fight in His way over those who stay behind. So this was an omen that this child would grow up to be someone who would fight against the oppressors. The hadith says he closed the Quran. And Imam al-Sajjad again opened the Quran seeking a divine omen about Zayd. Surah At-Tawbah, ayah 111 came up, where the ayah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَمْوَالَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. That Allah, the verse is from Surah At-Tawbah, that Allah has purchased the souls of the believers and their wealth in exchange for paradise. Another indicator of the future of this child. And then he closes the Quran and again he opens it. And the ayah that comes up is the ayah that I began the majlis with. وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Do not consider those who are killed in the way of God as dead. Rather, they are alive, receiving sustenance in the presence of their Lord. Imam al-Sajjad, when he read those three verses, he said to his companions around him, he said, I am receiving condolences for what will happen to this child. And then he actually tells his companions about the martyrdom of his son Zayd. And he cries, and those who are with him cry. When you study the life of Zayd ibn Ali, you find that there are many parallels between his story and the story of Imam al-Hussein. Number one, we know that Imam al-Hussein, his name was also designated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there is actually a Quranic precedent for this. When it comes to the son of Zakaria, what does Allah say? Ya Zakaria, inna nubashiruka bi ghulamin ismuhu Yahya, lam naj'al lahu min qablu samiyya. O Zakaria, we give you the glad tidings of a young boy whose name is Yahya. Zakaria didn't name him. Who named him? Allah named him. So this precedent does exist with awliyaullah. So Zayd is named in a divine way in the same way that Imam al-Hussein was named in a divine way. Number two, Imam al-Hussein is the only ma'soom whose birth also becomes a majlis. Meaning the story of his martyrdom was told on the day of his birth. Similarly, Zayd's martyrdom is mentioned on the day of his birth. And as we will discuss, even the way that they were martyred was very similar. Now, when you study these personalities, we often reduce them to one characteristic. We have a very reductionist approach when it comes to these personalities. When we think about Zayd, we just think about a martyr, someone who organized a military campaign against the oppressive rulers of his time. We see him as a warrior, someone who was courageous in the battlefield. But we have to understand, my dear brothers and sisters, that in the Islamic tradition, martyrdom is not something that is easily achieved. It is something that requires special tawfiq. When you look at the life of Zayd ibn Ali, we are not talking about a man who was just spending his time doing push-ups and sharpening his sword. Zayd ibn Ali was a man of deep character. In fact, the historical accounts, they say, كان يعرف عند أهل المدينة بحليف القرآن. That Zayd ibn Ali, he was known among the residents of Medina as the constant companion of the Quran. Meaning that this is someone who was not just courageous. This is not someone who doesn't just know how to fight. This is someone who has a deep understanding of the purpose of life. This is a man who has a deep appreciation of spirituality. You know, even if you look at some of our great ulama, and even if you look at our modern day shaheed, before he was assassinated, we see that there was video footage of him reciting the Quran. It's as if there is a link between dedication to the Quran and martyrdom. Now, one of the controversies around the revolution of Zayd ibn Ali is that there is this perception that he waged a rebellion against the Umayyads without authorization from the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. There is this idea that he went rogue, that he kind of organized this revolution and the Imams did not participate, and therefore it was an unauthorized military campaign. When you read the ahadith of Ahlul Bayt, it's very interesting because we have many narrations where Shia, followers of Ahlul Bayt, they are actually coming to Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq and they're asking them about their opinion about Zayd ibn Ali. Because it seems that there's confusion. He's leading a rebellion, but you're not in the army. He's leading a rebellion. We haven't received any official statement from you stating that you support this movement. So they would come to the Imam, some of them would come to the Imam and they would ask the likes of Imam al-Baqir. And of course, depending on who's asking, you know, this is one of the reasons why sometimes you see discrepancy in our ahadith. Because the Imams are not always going to give the same response to every person who asks a question. Because sometimes they might give a diplomatic answer if they suspect that they are speaking with someone who might be an Umayyad agent. So sometimes you might have contradictory statements from the Imam, not because the narrator just got it wrong, or not because the Imam forgot what he said in the first hadith and then he contradicted himself. Is because the Imam is very careful about who his audience is. This is also something that we have to learn as followers of Ahlul Bayt. We shouldn't think that courage means to say whatever you want to whoever you want. That's not the practice of the Imams. Yes, the Imams are brave, but more importantly, they're also wise. They think about the consequences of their words. Now, someone comes to Imam al-Baqir and they ask, so this is the son of Imam al-Sajjad, and he's the brother of Imam al-Baqir and the uncle of Imam al-Sadiq. Someone comes to Imam al-Baqir and is asking him about his own brother. What do you say about your brother? The Imam, he says, سألتني عن رجل مليء إيمانا وعلما من أطراف شعره إلى قدمه. Imam al-Baqir, he says to the one who has asked him about Zayd. Now this is, based on this hadith, the Imam is speaking to someone that he can trust. He says that you have asked me about a man who is filled with faith and knowledge from head to toe. Notice the Imam highlights that this is a man who has combined faith and knowledge. One of the problems that we have in the world today is that you have people who have faith, but they don't have knowledge. What do we call these people? ISIS. No, we call them religious fanatics. The best remedy to religious fanaticism is what? Is the combination of knowledge and piety. You need to have knowledge. And not just scriptural knowledge. you have to also have knowledge of your times. You have to have knowledge of what is applicable in this particular situation and what is not. What is a priority and what is secondary. This is all based on what? It's based on ilm. That's why the Quran says, when it speaks about how God distinguishes the faithful, Allah says, يَرْفَعِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ. That faith allows you to ascend. But after faith, what distinguishes one mu'min from another? وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ. After faith, what distinguishes one believer over the other is what? Is knowledge. Now, Imam al-Baqir, and we have many ahadith where the Imams praise Zayd bin Ali as a man of faith and knowledge. Now, the question is, what caused the revolution of Zayd? As we mentioned last night, the Umayyads were engaged in a number of very destructive policies. They would persecute religious minorities. They promoted Arab ethno-supremacy. The gap between the rich and the poor was widening, right? Kind of sounds like the United States of America, minus the Arab ethno-supremacy. So a lot of the problems that Zayd is seeing, he's seeing that the Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib are being slaughtered simply because of their religious identity. There's economic, there's unequal distribution of wealth, and the list continues. Zayd ibn Ali does something that's very wise. You see, some of us, we have this impression that he just woke up one day and decided, let me organize a military campaign. That's not what he does. He does something that very few people have the courage to do. And that is, he's in Medina, he actually travels to Sham, and he meets with the Khalifa face to face. The Khalifa at the time was Hisham ibn Abdul Malik. So instead of just complaining, he says, listen, I have prestige, I have social capital, I'm going to take advantage of my position in society, I can gain access to the halls of power. So he actually goes to Hisham ibn al-Hakam and he tells him that what you are doing is antithetical to Islamic values. He basically presents to him the grievances, that these are the issues, and if you don't resolve them, there are going to be problems. Hisham ibn Abdul Malik was a very arrogant man. He suspected that Zayd wanted to grab the Khilafah from him. So Hisham, he started to mock Zayd. And he said that you want to be the Khalifa? You are the son of a slave girl, while I am the son of a free woman. Zayd ibn Ali, he maintains his composure because he's there to resolve the problem. Maybe I can influence the Khalifa to undo some of these oppressive policies. He maintains his composure and he says what? He says, it doesn't make sense for you to insult me for being the son of a slave girl. This was common in the pre-modern era. Because Prophet Ismail was also the son of a slave girl. His mother Hajar. And we Muslims, we all agree that Ismail has a higher spiritual rank than Ishaq. Ishaq's mother was a free woman. Ismail's mother was a slave woman. So what kind of argument is this? He ignores him, he taunts him, and then he does something that becomes the straw, as they say, the straw that broke the camel's back. If you go to Kitabul Kafi, Zayd actually mentions what happened at that meeting that made him realize that there is no diplomacy is not going to work with these guys. In Kitab al-Kafi we read what? Zayd says, Inni shahidtu Hishaman. I went and I saw Hisham. وَرَسُولُ اللَّهِ يُسَبُّ عِنْدَهُ فَلَمْ يُنْكِرْ ذَلِكَ. That I was with Hisham and his cabinet, his officials, they were mocking Rasulullah. The Prophet was being mocked in his presence. And he didn't condemn it. He didn't even bat an eyelash. Even though he's presumably the Khalifa of the Muslims. Rasulullah is being ridiculed and mocked and denigrated in his presence, and he doesn't care. So what does he say? He says, فَوَاللَّهِ. He makes a resolution. He says, I swear by God, I am going to revolt against this government, even if it's only me and my son. So what does he do? He leaves Sham, and he starts to go to the different cities to recruit a movement to overthrow the Umayyads. He goes from city to city. He starts building his army. He then goes to one of the senior companions of Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq by the name of Mu'min al-Taq. This narration is also mentioned in Kitab al-Kafi. Now this is where we're going to get into some of the practical lessons. Zayd ibn Ali, he goes to Mu'min al-Taq because he wants to recruit big names, because if you can recruit big names, others will also follow. You want to recruit influential people, top tier students of Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq. So he goes to Mu'min al-Taq and he asks him to join. Mu'min al-Taq, he says what? He says, you're not the Imam. If Imam al-Baqir is leading an army, I'll be there. And I have not heard of any explicit permission given to us to join you. This hadith caused a lot of confusion even among Shias. Even you can see that some of the followers of Ahlul Bayt, they weren't sure, is this authorized or is it not? Sayyid al-Khu'i, when he looks at the biography of Zayd ibn Ali, he actually comments on this narration. He says that Zayd was authorized by the Imams to rise up, but they made it a point to tell him, you are not allowed to tell people that we have authorized this movement. Why? Because if the word gets out that Imam al-Baqir has officially, explicitly given permission to the believers to join an armed resistance, what's going to happen? The Imam will be slaughtered and all of the Shi'as will be in danger. So look at what Sayyid al-Khu'i says. He says, لَمْ يَتَمَكَّنْ زَيْدٌ مِّن جَوَابِهِ. Mu'min al-Taq is saying that I don't have any indication that this is sanctioned by the Imam. Sayyid al-Khu'i says, Zayd was not allowed to tell him that I got the green light from Imam al-Baqir. Because the Imams, they swore him to secrecy. The Imams do not want any public affiliation. So, Sayyid al-Khu'i, he says, when Zayd is trying to recruit Mu'min al-Taq, he just tells him that, listen, I am going to rise up. I know the consequences. I'm asking you to join. Mu'min al-Taq refuses, and Zayd doesn't push any further because he doesn't want to endanger his Imam. You see, what we have to understand is that Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, beginning with the Prophet, they were very cautious when it came to the preservation of their community. They would never, as the saying goes, they would never put all their eggs in one basket. If you look at the Prophet is building a movement in Mecca. What does he do? He's planning to do a hijrah to Medina. But what does he do? He sends a group of his followers to Abyssinia. Why? Because in case we get annihilated in Mecca, the believers and the truth will still be preserved in Ethiopia. You see, this is very important. It is very foolish for us to expect that all mu'mineen need to play the exact same role. Imam al-Baqir did not join, and this speaks to the greatness of Zayd, because Zayd had made an agreement that, oh Imam, I am going to fight to overthrow the Umayyads. If I win, you get all the glory. You will rise to the Khilafah and I will step back. But if the mission fails, you have nothing to do with it and I will taste martyrdom. You see? You see the genius of how the Imams operate? There's a request for everyone to, especially the brothers, to stand up, take a few steps forward. رحم الله من ذكر القائم من آل محمد. So Zayd, he recruits people to join his resistance. And Imam al-Baqir makes it very clear that we have to diversify the resistance. You know, just like they say, diversify your portfolio, you also have to diversify the resistance. So the Imam, he made it very clear that even though he supports Zayd, I cannot be publicly affiliated with you. I cannot publicly support you. And this is also a very important lesson. Just because a believer does not offer public support, it doesn't mean that they are against a particular action. This is very important. So Zayd, he goes, he recruits his army. The Umayyads, they catch wind of this. So they dispatch their armies, and there is an intense battle that takes place in Kufa, because Kufa was a garrison town. Zayd and his men, they fought valiantly until a metal arrow was shot and was lodged in the head of Zayd. It was a metal arrow. He was rushed to a physician who removed the arrow. The arrow was removed and he bled to death. And he achieved martyrdom. His companions, they buried him. The Umayyads, as we mentioned last night, they loved to make a spectacle of violence. They wanted to always make a lesson out of those who opposed them. So they actually tracked down the physician who pulled out the arrow, and they asked him, tell us where they buried Zayd. So they were directed to the grave of Zayd. The Umayyads, they exhumed his grave. They dug him out. And then they beheaded him. They put his head on a spear and they paraded his head throughout the cities. See, when we say about the similarity between him and Imam al-Hussein, they paraded him around the cities. Did they stop there? There are some people, they take pleasure in dehumanizing other human beings. Just like what we saw in Gaza. There's a type of pleasure seeking when it comes to human torture. So they paraded his head and they actually crucified him. They stripped him of his clothes and they crucified him. And the narrations mention that the Umayyads, they kept him up on that crucifix because they wanted to humiliate him and send a message that this is what will happen to anyone who opposes us. They were expecting the body of Zayd to decompose. It's out in the heat, the rain, but something unexpected happened. The body would never decompose. Even after they stripped him of his clothes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent insects, creatures to cover his private areas. He remained crucified in that way for about 3 years. And it is said that because his body would not decompose, his body became a symbol of noble resistance. And it was seen as a miracle. People would actually travel to Kufa to see the preserved body of Zayd. So then what happened? The Umayyads, they moved to plan B. They take him down. Do they go and bury him? They burn his body and they spread his ashes in the Euphrates. News is sent to Imam al-Sadiq. And when they break the news to Imam al-Sadiq, this was the reaction of Imam al-Sadiq upon hearing what had been done to his uncle. The Imam, he actually begins crying. He said, "Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un." To Allah we belong and to Him we shall return. عند الله أحتسب عمي. I seek reward with God for patiently enduring what has happened to my uncle. And then look at what the Imam says. إنه كان نعم العم. Indeed, Zayd was the best of uncles. He was willing to fight fire with fire. And he was doing all of this so Muhammad al-Baqir and Ja'far al-Sadiq would be the Khalifas, not him. How many people do you know are willing to put in all of that work for 0 credit? This is a lesson that we learn from Zayd. That true sincerity is demonstrated by being the one who says, I'll put in the work even if I don't get any of the glory. And then the Imam says, إِنَّ عَمِّي كَانَ رَجُلًا لِدُنْيَانَا وَآخِرَتِنَا. That my uncle Zayd, Imam al-Sadiq says, he was a blessing for our dunya and our akhirah. And then he says what? مَضَى وَاللَّهِ عَمِّي شَهِيدًا كَشُهَدَاء استشهدوا مع رسول الله وعلي والحسين صلوات الله عليهم. The Imam says, Zayd met his Lord as a martyr, like the martyrs who fought alongside the Prophet, like the martyrs who fell alongside Ali, like the martyrs who fell with Imam Hussein in Karbala. Now, you might think to yourself that Zayd did not achieve what he intended. Because Imam al-Sadiq, the Imams, they say that if he won the battle, he would have been true to his word and he would have handed the Khilafah to us, Ahlul Bayt. لو ظفر لوفى, the Imams, they say. If Zayd gained victory, he would have handed it over. He was not interested in political power for himself. He fought for his religion. He fought for divine values. Now, sometimes you might think, okay, he fought, he died, but did it change anything? Was his blood in vain? Because sometimes we might think to ourselves that we see someone fall as a martyr and we might not appreciate what they achieved. And we wonder, was this blood spilled in vain? Look at what Imam al-Sadiq says. Sheikh al-Saduq mentions this in Kitab Thawab al-A'mal. Imam al-Sadiq, he says, Inna ala Abi Sufyan قتلوا الحسين فنزع الله ملكهم. the family of Abu Sufyan, they killed Imam al-Hussein, and Allah stripped them of their kingdom. If you look at what happened, within 3 years, the family of Abu Sufyan was removed from power. And then look at what the Imam says. وَقَتَلَ هِشَامُ زَيْدِ بْنَ عَلِي فَنَزَعَ اللَّهُ مُلْكَهُ. Hisham, the Umayyad ruler, he killed Zayd. Imam al-Sadiq said, the blood of Zayd expedited the fall of that government. Yes, he might have not achieved what he wanted, but know that the blood of martyrs, it always expedites the fall of corrupt empires. That applied then, and it applies today. And then we end with this. Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. From this, what do we understand? That there are many ways to resist. Sometimes resistance is what Zayd did. Sometimes resistance is building institutions. Sometimes resistance is scholarship. Sometimes resistance is journalism. We should not have this idea that unity of purpose means uniformity of methods. We should not be people who believe unity of purpose means uniformity of methods. If you look at all of the companions of the Imams, you look at Amir al-Mu'mineen had his Abu Dhar, his vocal Abu Dhar, who would stand outside of the palace of Fir'aun, who would condemn the corrupt rulers of the time. But if everyone played the role of Abu Dhar, Ali would have no Shia left. Ali needs Abu Dhar, and he also needs Salman. Imam al-Baqir, he needs Aban ibn Taghlib, resistance through scholarship. But he also needs Zayd ibn Ali. He also needs people who are going to build institutions. And this is very important, brothers and sisters. This applies to us as lay people, and it also applies to our ulama. Sometimes we have this expectation that every marji' needs to make the exact same statement. And if they don't, they must be agents. This mu'min needs to make the exact public, they need to take the exact public stand as every other mu'min. The reason why we make this argument is because we haven't really studied the seerah of Ahlul Bayt. Shi'ism survived because Ahlul Bayt taught the important lesson of diversifying the resistance. And this is exactly what Imam al-Hussein did masterfully in his revolution. He knew that his role was to be martyred, but he brought Zainab and Zainul Abidin because their resistance would be to counter the propaganda. That is also an important part of the resistance. And even the children who were with Imam al-Hussein, they played a role. And their role, if nothing, was to show that these people do not even show mercy to the most innocent of the innocent. Their mere presence exposed the barbarity of these people. It reminds me of what happened on the day of Ashura. After they killed Imam al-Hussein and his companions, they did not stop with the slaughtering of the men. They began looting the tents. There is a moment on that day when one of the soldiers of the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, he approaches the tents of the women and the children. and he approaches one of the daughters of Imam al-Hussein, one of the young daughters, who was wearing earrings. And the man approached her and he said to her that I am going to snatch those earrings from your earlobes. She said, don't you know who we are? We are the daughters of Rasulullah. And he starts crying. She says, why are you crying? Don't you know who we are? He says, yes, I know who you are, but if I don't take your earrings, someone else will. Ruthless. On the day of Ashura, they set fire to the tents. Hamid ibn Muslim, who was one of the correspondents on that day, he was documenting everything that was happening. He says, when the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, when they set fire to the tents, I saw women and children running frantically throughout the desert. They were all in a state of panic. And it's very easy for us to visualize this because this is exactly what has been happening in Gaza for 2-3 years. We don't even need to imagine what that looks like anymore. Hamid ibn Muslim, he says, as I saw the sheer panic among the women and the children, there was one young girl that caught my eye. قال رأيت صبية تتراكض في البيداء وقد تعلقت النيران في ثيابها. There was one young girl that caught my eye. And the reason why she caught my eye is because her dress caught on fire. Her dress caught on fire. She was running away from a burning tent, not realizing that her own dress was on fire. He said, so I ran towards her to help her extinguish the fire. But she was a young girl who saw a strange man running at her. He says, when I ran to her, she started to tremble. She thought I was an enemy soldier. دنوت منها لأطفئ النار فلما رأتني ارتعدت فرائصها وخافت. She trembled, she panicked when she saw me. Before I could even say anything, she said, أنت لنا أم علينا? She asked me, are you with us or are you against us? I said to her, I'm not with you nor am I against you. I'm neutral. She said to me, يا هذا هل قرأت القرآن? Hamid ibn Muslim, he says, who are you? She responded to him by saying, have you read the Quran? I said, yes, I've read the Quran. I'm a Muslim. Of course I've read the Quran. قال هل رأيت قوله تعالى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر. Have you read the word of Allah where He says, do not harm the orphans? He said, I said to her, there are many orphans. Whose orphan are you? قالت أنا يتيمة أبي عبد الله الحسين. She says, I am the orphan daughter of Imam al-Hussein. He says, is there anything that I can do to help you? She says, can you take me to Najaf? Allah. قالت خذني إلى الغري. She says, I beg you, take me to Najaf. He says, Najaf is too far. Why do you want to go to Najaf? قالت أخبرتني عمتي زينب أن لنا قبرا بالغري قبر جدي علي بن أبي طالب. She said, my Aunt Zainab told me that I have a grandfather buried there. I have a grandfather there, my grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib. She told me that anyone who is in distress, they can go there and Allah will relieve them of their distress. He says, I cannot take you all the way to Najaf. I apologize. Is there anywhere else I can take you? قالت خذني إلى شط الفرات. She says, I want you to take me to the Euphrates. Hamid ibn Muslim, he said, okay, I'll take you to the Euphrates. He says, as I was escorting this young girl, she started to run. He said, I assume that she's running towards the water because she's thirsty. But I saw that she was not running towards the water. I saw her running towards a body with no arms. He says, I saw her running until she started sprinting. And as soon as she reached that body, she threw herself on that body. And she cried out, Ya Abbas, قم وانظر ماذا صنعوا بنا. She cried out, oh my uncle Abbas, wake up, look what they have done to us. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. Everyone together. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
إنا لله ورضا بقضاء هيهات هيهات منا ذلة. إنا لله ورضا بقضاء هيهات هيهات منا ذلة. إنا لله ورضا بقضاء هيهات هيهات منا ذلة. Everyone, إنا لله ورضا بقضاء هيهات هيهات منا ذلة. إنا لله ورضا بقضاء هيهات هيهات منا ذلة. Oh Mumtahar Hussain, you are my Urwatul Wusqa. O Abd Mumtahar Hussain, you are my Urwatul Wusqa. O Nafs Mutma'in, return Radiyatun wa Mardiyah. O Nafs Mutma'in, return Radiyatun wa Mardiyah. Rabbi, Rabbi, accept from me my Sawm o Salat, my Maut o Hayat. Rabbi, Rabbi, accept from me my Sawm o Salat, my Maut o Hayat. Inna lillah wa ridan biqada. Hayhat, hayhat, minna dillah. You are my lahm o dam Hussain, anta minni ana minka. You are my lahm o dam Hussain, anta minni ana minka. You are safinatun najah, sayyidu shabab al jannah. You are safinatun najah, sayyidu shabab al jannah. Jaddi, Jaddi, every ounce of me I will sacrifice, so your deen survives. Jaddi, Jaddi, every ounce of me I will sacrifice, so your deen survives. Inna lillah, everyone, waridan biqada. Hayhat, hayhat, minna dhillah. Every companion we had lies in Nainawa Shaheed. Every companion we had lies in Nainawa Shaheed. Baba, give your Ali ijazah so I enter the battlefield. Baba, give your Ali ijazah so I enter the battlefield. Waladi, waladi, O Shabih Nabi, go, you have my dua. Give your mother wida. Waladi, waladi, O Shabih Nabi, go, you have my dua. Give your mother wida. Inna lillah waridan biqada. Everyone, hayhat, hayhat, minna dillah. Oh, my Tishna pe sar Hussain, how you lifted Ali Akbar. Oh, my Tishna pe sar Hussain, how you lifted Ali Akbar. Though his mayyat was heavier than the weight of Dar-e Khaybar. Though his mayyat was heavier than the weight of Dar-e Khaybar. Baba, Baba, give me your dua as I bury Asghar's lasha. Baba, Baba, give me your dua as I bury Asghar's lasha. Inna lillah waridan biqada. Hayhat, hayhat, min more time. Minna lillah. Everyone. Waridan biqada. Hayhat, hayhat. Minna lillah. To your Azim, oh brother, we will anchor our existence. To your Azim, oh brother, we will anchor our existence. To your Azim, oh brother, we will anchor our existence. And we will never let the tyrant silence our resistance. And we will never let the tyrant silence our resistance. Ukhti, Ukhti, when they taunted thee, you said I saw only beauty. Ukhti, Ukhti, when they taunted thee, you said I saw only beauty. Inna lillah waridan biqada. Hayhat, hayhat. Minna lillah, inna lillah, waridan biqada. Hayhat, hayhat. Minna lillah. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred, Hussein has been martyred. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred, Hussein has been martyred. I told Zul-Jannah, please don't take father. Whoever goes, they never return. I told Zul-Jannah, please don't take father. Whoever goes, they never return. My father then told me, to him I'm so dear. My father then told me, to him I'm so dear. The time has now come for us to part. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred, Hussein has been martyred. After you were slain, they came into our tents. They slapped me on my face and snatched my earrings. After you were slain, they came into our tents. They slapped me on my face and snatched my earrings. Do they not know we are of Ahlul Bayt? Do they not know we are of Ahlul Bayt? Well, grandfather, where are you? The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred, Hussein has been martyred. When I fell down from the camel's back, Zainab cried out, no one took heed. When I fell down from the camel's back, Zainab cried out, no one took heed. But then, Father, your head fell off holy spear. But then, Father, your head fell off holy spear. When will I see you? When will I see you? The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred, Hussein has been martyred. The city of Sham came out to see who are these prisoners paraded through town. The city of Sham came out to see who are these prisoners paraded through town. Can it really be the family of Rasul? Can it really be the family of Rasul? The daughters of Hussein without any veil. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred, Hussein has been martyred. My brother Eliasgar, he died without a drop. Now how can I drink while he is thirsty? My brother Eliasgar, he died without a drop. Now how can I drink while he is thirsty? I want to leave this evil dungeon of Yazid. I want to leave this evil dungeon of Yazid. When will I see you? When will I see you? The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred, Hussein has been martyred. O men of Yazid, please take away this tray. I am not hungry, I want my father. O men of Yazid, please take away this tray. I am not hungry, I want my father. On the tray there lay my father's head. On the tray there lay my father's head. I want to be with you, the time has now come. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. The earth trembled, the skies blackened. Hussein has been martyred, Hussein has been martyred. Hussein, 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 Hussein.
We will have ziyarat after namaz.